All right, guys, Tyler here one more time, and I'm super stoked to have my good friend Travis Stoetzel on the call, and we're going to talk about sledgehammers and tires and why you guys should be using that in your workouts to fix your muscle imbalances and get stronger at your functional training. So, Travis, my man, how's it going?
It's going good, man. Thanks for having me on the call here.
Awesome.
Excited. Anytime I get a chance to talk about training, I'm pretty excited to do it. So,
Awesome,
good
man.
stuff.
Well, cool. Well, yeah, we just had Rick on the call, then we had Isaac on the call, and now I wanted to talk to you because we're talking about unconventional methods to fix muscle imbalances. And so you did a couple presentations for Rick's new Muscle Imbalances Revealed program, and you did them on sledgehammer training and tires. And I think the number one thing that most people are thinking is like, how the heck is a sledgehammer or a tire going to help me fix my muscle imbalances?
Sure. Well, main thing with both those unconventional training tools they're functional. So they get your body moving in a functional manner versus being stuck in a machine or different things like that. And when you learn these movements properly and you do them in the proper way, you can build full body strength, power, conditioning, and it just crosses over into the real world really, really well. So that's why I like these movements so much.
Awesome. I know you're into a lot of different strongman movements. What made you pick sledgehammers and tire flipping in particular?
Well, to be honest with you, Rick, he was the one that wanted me to present on that. He knew I had a pretty extensive background in that type of training with different strongman and functional type training like that, and so he asked me to simply present on sledgehammers and tires. So that's what I cranked out, man.
Awesome, awesome. So how can sledgehammer training in particular fix people's muscle imbalances? What does it work? How do you apply it in your training with your clients? What's the best method for people to get started with a sledgehammer, Travis?
With sledgehammers, best way to get started is to properly learn the movement first. And what I really like about sledgehammers is when you first implement them into somebody's program and you have somebody do these, you can kind of see the person, they're a little timid. It's almost like swinging a baseball bat for the
Right.
first time. It's that kind of movement. And the reason I use them is because it's a full body movement. You're not just using your shoulders or your upper body. It's a hip driven movement, requires a lot of coordination, and just adding that in there for somebody that's brand new to the movement, they're going to build more coordination, and it's going to get them more athletic overall, which is it just crosses over to the whole broad scope of what they're doing. So it kind of just gets them out of that realm and puts them into that athletic type of training realm. So, but the best way to get started with it is just to learn the movement. So
Yeah.
obviously, when you first put the sledgehammer in somebody's hands, it's an awkward movement. Usually when I have my clients start it, they've built up a good base of strength via body weight training and different things like that. And so it's not like one of the first things that we do. So when I first get the sledgehammer in somebody's hands, I kind of let them go at it for a little bit just so I can see where they're at. Some people pick it up real quick. For instance, ex-baseball players, current athletes, people like that are going to pick up the movement very, very fast. Whereas, somebody that hasn't played a sport like that, they're not going to pick it up very, quickly. So that's when you got to really drive, home the technique on how to properly do it. But basically, that's how I get started in a nutshell. And there's different weights of sledgehammers that you can use. I usually start with like an 8-pound
Sure.
sledgehammer, which is pretty small, and you can find those at any hardware store. It's usually they range from like 8 pounds, 10 pounds are the most common sledgehammers that you're going to find. But you can dig a little bit and find 12-pound sledgehammers, and you can get up to
16.
like a 20-pound like war hammer.
Yeah.
I know with the rise and the popularity with MMA training, so to speak, that's kind of where the sledgehammers have gotten more attention. You're starting to see like these actual fitness companies make these like huge sledgehammers, and so people automatically
With the
think
big carnival heads and everything.
yeah, I mean, they're huge, like war hammers, man,
Yeah.
like 20 pounds. And 20 pounds doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're doing these sledgehammer swings, and because it's more of a power / conditioning based movement, it's not like a heavy strength based movement. So
Right.
really it doesn't mean bigger the better in terms of sledgehammer training. You can, even an advanced trainee, I don't have any sledgehammers in my gym over 10 pounds. We have an 8 and a 10 pounder. We used to have a 12 pounder, but the handle, like the head flew off of it. But
Yeah, it can be sketchy.
yeah, so you got to make sure it's safe. But that's pretty much in a nutshell how we start, how I implement in sledgehammers starting off.
You know, I'm so happy that you mentioned the technique, Travis, because a sledgehammer is a movement that requires a lot of technique. And oftentimes, when I introduce people into some sledgehammer training, or I see people who might be like an elite level CrossFit competitor or like an MMA guy, you put a sledgehammer in their hands, they don't know what the hell to do with it.
Yeah.
But I grew up with like hose and picks and breaking concrete and stuff. So I just picked up a sledgehammer and I was like, oh, this is how you use a sledgehammer. But you see people grab the end of it and they're doing all this goofy stuff and they don't know how to do it. And really, it's one of the best exercises for generating a cross-body rotational downward explosive power. A good friend of mine, Logan, our friend Logan, talks about it as being the reverse of a one-arm snatch. And it is a really good opposing motion to a one-arm snatch. So I think it helps you fix those muscle imbalances as well. All right. Well, let's dig into tire flipping, because not everybody's going to have a tire. Like, what's some other options they can do? And then why tire flipping?
Well, first of all, tire flipping, it's just another great full body movement. You see it. It's famous in strongman training, and it's a great movement to apply the strength that you build up in the gym. For instance, with like your front squats, your deadlifts for sure, your power cleans. Yeah. It's just another variation to kind of work that type of explosive hip movement in a different way, and that's the main reason that we use it. And it depends on the client. You know, if it's just a beginning client, obviously it's just like the sledgehammers. They got to build a solid base of strength and power first, kind of earn themselves the right to build up to tire flips. You know, if somebody's not efficient in just deadlifting,
right,
you know, they're not going to be touching the tire. And that's actually one of the biggest mistakes that I see being made when it comes to tires is, you know, because it's one of those sexy movements, you know, that people see and they think it's real cool, and they see these strongmen, you know, flipping these 500-pound tires, and that's where people make the mistake. And there's a high school football field right across the street from our gym, and they have tires over there. And I see the football team during the summer, they'll go over there and they'll do like flips for like 50 yards, and it's just crushing these kids' back because the tire's too small. And I actually get into more detail about like what type of tires you should get, but the tires are too small, so you can't get in the proper position. And then B, these kids are probably too weak to even be doing tire flips to begin with. So again, technique is really, really key with tire flipping. And it's not one of those movements where if you're a beginner, you're going to be doing more. So it's more for, you know, advanced clients more than anything. So.
Well, I'm happy you chose that movement too, Travis, because I got a big tire out in my garage that I use on occasion. And not only is it a great tool for, like you said, applying strength, but it's one of the most beastly cardiovascular tools out there, you know, especially when you do 10 tire flips and then you could do box jumps on the tire. If you have a sledgehammer, you can bring it out and then whack it and repeat as a circuit. But one of the reasons why I like it so much is that setup position, the start position, is really similar to like having to pick up a desk, having to tilt up a couch, which is like stuff that everybody ends up doing at some point. And if you don't have the flexibility, the control, the technique, that's when people hurt their backs, hurt their hips, hurt their knees and everything. So I think it's a great functional movement. So I kind of touched on it real quick there, but do you show how to combine the two?
Sledgehammer and tires?
Yeah.
Definitely. And, you know, that's one of the most common ways to use sledgehammers is obviously you're going to be slamming it against a tire, but if you don't have access to like a huge tractor tire, another option is to just take like a smaller car tire. Right. And I actually used to I did this when I didn't have a gym and I just travel around. I had my tire sled, and I'd throw a sandbag in the middle of the tire, so if you happen to miss, because a smaller tire is a little bit, you know, obviously smaller target. So if you miss and, you know, hit the middle with the sledgehammer, you're going to be hitting that sandbag in the middle. So that was an easy way to do that. If you don't have a tire, you can slam it against concrete. Obviously, we've done piles of sand, so slamming the sledgehammer in a pile of sand. We've done that before. But combining the two, one of my favorite circuits ever is just simply maybe 2 to 3 heavy tire flips, and then you go like a minute with sledgehammer swings. Boom. Maybe you're alternating sides, or you're doing sledgehammer swings on the same side. You go back to some tire flips, and again, and you hit on that point is it's very critical when it comes to tire flipping, because you mentioned it can be a brutal cardiovascular circuit, and that all depends on who is using that strength tool. So whoever's doing the tire flips, because I have athletes who could do 5 or 6 flips in a row, with a 350 to 400 pound tire, whereas somebody else, that's going to be like their 1 rep max.
Right, they're going to get one
flip.
flip.
You know what I mean? So before technical breakdown and form starts to kind of loosen up a little bit, things like that. So there's just endless amounts of ways that you could combine the two tools, and just again the beauty with them is just they're super functional. I mean they're just real world movements. Like you said, might have to pick up a desk.
Yeah.
Doing tire flips will get you definitely prepared for that.
You might have to pound a stake in the ground every once in a while in your life, right?
Might be out camping and you might have to do that, or
Any tips on where people can find big tires? I was fortunate enough to have a friend with some old dump truck tires that I snagged and brought home. So any tips on where to find them?
First place to look at is to just, if you have, well, I'm here in Omaha, Nebraska, so we have these, tractor tire or tractor repair places that, repair big tractors. So you can always go to those places and ask around. They might connect you with some farmers, because when it comes to bigger tractor tires, and the thing about tires in general is you never pay for one. Do not ever pay for one. If somebody says, yeah, I'll give you a tractor tire for like $300, don't take it, because most people will give it to you because it costs money
to get rid of
actually get rid of them. So when people want to actually get rid of them, throw them away, they just can't go to their local dump and throw them away. They actually have to pay to get rid of them. So you can usually find old tractor tires at different places like that. Craigslist would be another place to search, and just asking around. Facebook, shoot, if you posted it on Facebook, I guarantee you'd be able to find one somewhere. So,
oh man, yeah.
I
think everybody could get a tire as long as I got the space to use it. You could find a tire in any city or countryside in the United States or wherever you're located. Awesome, Travis. Well, I really appreciate you sharing your thoughts with us, talking about hardcore, unconventional tools to fix your muscle imbalances. So thanks for your time, brother. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, buddy. You're welcome.